till now we have discussed heat and wave equations. We have derived their amplification factors. We considered explicit and implicit both of the methods, and I asked you to find out a suitable uh, parameter nu, which was C delta T by delta X for wave equation, and alpha delta T by delta X square for heat equation, for which those schemes, that is FTCS, which was explicit, and BTCS, which was implicit, or for wave equation it was upwind. So you can also call it FTBS or FTFS, forward in time, forward in space, or backward in space, depending upon the direction of C, direction of speed, wave speed. So if C is positive or negative, it depends on that, whether it will be stable or not. So FTFS or FTBS, we can call that. So we had these several schemes and we wanted to find the best scheme for which our numerical solution does not differ too much from the exact solution. So for that we plotted mod G by mod GE on a polar plot, and we got some curves, something like that, where this vector length is mod G by GE. This is a polar plot, and this angle was theta, which comes from the mode of the Fourier series expansion that we are looking at. Okay, the mode in that Fourier series. Okay, and also we did a similar thing for the relative phase phi by phi e, and we got some graphs for theta values. So generally we will have all theta values ranging from 0 to pi or 0 to 2 pi. So we want mod G by GE to be as close to 1 as possible, and similarly phi by phi e also as close to 1 as possible, because we want our numerical simulation, numerical results to be the same as the exact results. Okay, we discussed till here. We also discussed how to solve explicit equations on a computer, both for the wave equation and the heat equation. But there was one problem, one little issue with an explicit solution. There was a problem of unstable solution. Okay, the solution diverged, the solution blew up. Okay, so the reason was that the solution was unstable for some value of this alpha delta T by delta X square, for some range of this parameter, and also for the wave equation for C delta T by delta X. So this, if it is less than or equal to 1, then it is stable. This was the stability condition. And if alpha delta T by delta X square was less than or equal to half, the heat equation solution was stable. This is for explicit approach, explicit method of discretizing it. Now let us see how to solve implicit equations. So let us take the example of a heat equation. This is a one-dimensional heat equation, alpha being the diffusivity, thermal diffusivity. Now let us discretize it, which we have already done before. Either we write Tn minus Tn minus 1 at some grid point I by delta T, or we can also write Tn plus 1 minus Tn if we increment the superscript n by 1 throughout. We can also do that. So on the right hand side also we have to write then n. Otherwise right now, if we increment everything by 1, then on the right hand side everything is at n plus 1. But right now with this notation we will write n. This is backward in time, central in space. So this is backward in time, the left hand side, n minus 1. So the present time step is n, not n minus 1. So the right hand side is at the present time step. Minus 2 Tin by delta x square, or sometimes people also write it like this, n plus 1 minus Tin by delta T. So this means that we have incremented n by 1 everywhere. Okay, so we can write either way. Both are correct. Both are BTCS, implicit schemes. Now this is clearly implicit. You cannot find out Tn. Let me erase one of them. You cannot find out Tn, that is the temperature at the current time step, as a function of temperatures at other grid points at the previous time step. So here you can see that it is an implicit equation. Tn at I is a function of temperature at n minus 1 as well as temperature at n at other grid points. So we discussed this earlier. We said that we will have to solve all the equations at all i's, T1, T2, T3 at n. We will get all these equations at all the grid points, nx, n. These are nx equations if we have nx number of grid points. Okay, and we have these many unknowns also, nx unknowns and nx equations. So we will have to solve all these equations simultaneously. Now you may know some methods of solving a system of equations. There are matrix methods that you express this as a matrix T1, T2 up to Tnx, and then this will be the coefficient matrix. Okay. what will be the size of this matrix? Nx by nx, and this is nx by 1. This is at n. So this coefficient matrix, you can see here that Tin has a coefficient of 1 by delta t, Ti plus 1 n has a coefficient of alpha by delta x square, Ti minus 1 n has a coefficient of alpha by delta x square, Tin has a coefficient of minus 2 alpha by delta x square. So all these coefficients come here and then this is equal to some constants that you know. So in this equation it is minus Ti and minus 1 by delta t, which goes to the right hand side and it becomes Ti minus 1 by delta t. So these will be some known quantities at time step n minus 1 or the previous time step. Okay, this is also nx by 1. Now the normal method that we know of is that you take this matrix to the right hand side, you take the inverse of this matrix, let us call it some A, and this is T at n equal to T at n minus 1. So the solution of this is A inverse times T n minus 1. This is how you get the result. This you have studied in your school probably, but computationally finding an inverse is a very difficult task. Although you get the answer explicitly, as you can see here, you can express Tn as equal to A inverse times Tn minus 1, but it is computationally very expensive. That is, it takes a lot of steps computationally and memory to calculate A inverse, to calculate inverse of a big matrix. You can see that if the number of points increase, nx increases, or if there is this problem is in 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions, this will be a very large matrix, A minus 1, A inverse, or A itself. So it becomes very time consuming and very memory intensive also to calculate inverse of a matrix. Therefore, at least for one dimensional problem, there is a simple method which we can use. There is a one step or two step, you can call it two-step method, that we can use for solving this problem without having to calculate inverse of a matrix. Before going to that, let us talk about some more implicit methods. So we already wrote this. We can also write the explicit way of writing this, which is because Tin is the unknown here in the explicit method. We'll take that as the unknown here also. n minus 1 by delta t, and because we are writing it explicitly, what we know here is n minus 1. So on the right hand side, the superscripts should be n minus 1. Now let us take a sum of both of these or average of both of these. On the left hand side, you can see both the terms are same. So when you take average, it will become Tn minus Tn minus 1 by delta T. This will remain the same. On the right hand side, you can see that it is an average of this right hand side at two different times, n and n minus 1. This is an average. This is an average. Okay, so you get these averages. This is one way of doing this averaging. What you can do is you can multiply this with some beta, let's say, this whole equation, and you can multiply the implicit equation by 1 minus beta, and when you add both of them, the left hand side will become Tin minus Tin minus 1 by delta T, what we have written here. And on the right hand side, you will get these factors beta of Ti plus 1 and minus 1 plus 1 minus beta of the implicit term. Okay, this is a special case when this beta is 0.5. Both are multiplied by 0.5, 0.5, that is this 1 by 2 here. So this particular scheme is known as Crank-Nicolson scheme. And this has good properties such as this is order delta t square delta x square, although it looks like it is order delta t, but actually it is order delta t square accurate and delta x square accurate. Delta x square it is by default from the explicit and implicit, you can see both are central difference, but it is delta t square accurate also. Okay, and similar to implicit scheme, the Crank-Nicolson also is thought to be unconditionally stable, but actually there are cases when the solution will not blow up like explicit scheme, but you will get oscillations in the solution even in Crank-Nicolson. So only the fully implicit scheme guarantees that there will be no oscillations in the solution, although it can also give you wrong solution sometimes. Okay, but we'll not go into the depth of those things here. Let us write the implicit discretization equation again. And all of the right hand side is at the nth time step. Now let us take all the nth time step terms to one side and write their coefficients. Let us take delta t to the right hand side and write alpha delta t by delta x square as some r. Then it becomes ti n plus, that is 2 alpha delta t by delta x square is the coefficient of tin on the right hand side. So 2r tin. Then additionally you get minus r ti plus 1n and minus r ti minus 1n. On the right hand side we get ti n minus 1. So let us write it as this: minus r t I minus 1n plus 1 plus 2r tin and then ti plus 1n minus 1. Now let us assume that there are only a few grid points so that we can write it on a paper here. Let us consider 3 grid points, or let's say 4 grid points. So this is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So 4 grid points are inside the domain and 2 are the boundary points. Let us say that we know the boundary conditions. These are fixed boundary conditions or Dirichlet boundary conditions. So we know the temperatures at boundary 1 and 6. Let us call them T1 and T6. These are fixed at all times, that is, they are known. Now let us write the equations from I equal to 2 onwards. The equation is minus r ti minus 1, that is 1 at the next time step or the current time step, 1 plus 2r t2n minus r t3n equal to t2n minus 1. I equal to 3, you can write similarly, t2n 1 plus 2r t3n minus r t4n t3n minus 1. Similarly for 4 and 5 you can write. Let me write for 4. Okay. Now if you remember the coefficient matrix that we wrote, let us try to write that matrix here. We know that these variables are T2, T3, 4 and 5 at n. And the right hand side similarly you can write directly. You can see here T2, T3, T4 and T5 at the previous time step n minus 1. What about the coefficient matrix? The first element is minus r, the second one, no, not minus r in this case, because you have to multiply that with t2, that will be the first element, it is 1 plus 2r. The next element will be multiplied with t3, that is minus r. There is no t4 in the first equation here, so the element has to be 0. Similarly, 0 has to be multiplied with t5. Now the next row, you can see that you have t2n multiplied with minus r. So you get minus r, then t3 is multiplied with 1 plus 2r, and then t4 is multiplied with minus r, and then 0 for t5. Similarly, in the third equation, you don't have any t2, so first element should be 0. Then t3 is multiplied with minus r. You can notice the trend that we are getting here. Then 0, 0, minus r, 1 plus 2r. Okay. So you can see that these diagonal terms are same, 1 plus 2r. And then you have an upper diagonal of minus r's and a lower diagonal of minus r's. And then you don't have any non-zero coefficient in the rest of the matrix. This is also known as a tri-diagonal matrix. And the algorithm that we are going to study now, that is known as TDMA, or tri-diagonal matrix algorithm. Okay. And also on the right hand side, we wrote T2, T3, T4, T5, which is not correct, because in the first equation, if you see, on the left hand side, we wrote 1 plus 2r times T2n minus r times T3n. But what about this term, the first term? And similarly, what about this last term here? Okay, this last term, not this last term, because this is not the last equation. You will have a last equation after this, and you will get minus r t6n. So what about that t6? So these terms go to the right hand side, because these are known terms. T1 and T6 are known. They are same at every time step if it is a Dirichlet boundary condition. But how to deal with other kinds of boundary conditions, that also we will discuss later on. But for now, we assume that these are known. So on the right hand side, instead of T2, this becomes T2 plus RT1. Although we have written n here, this is the same value at n minus 1. So we can write n minus 1 instead of n. It doesn't matter. Similarly, this term here will become T5 plus RT6. Okay. Now we will see this algorithm, tridiagonal matrix algorithm, also known as Thomas algorithm. So the first step of the algorithm is to eliminate the lower diagonal, okay, which is also known as Gauss elimination. So how do you eliminate the lower diagonal? We can do row manipulations, okay. What we do is multiply the bottom row, multiply row 2 by something that will cancel out with row 1 when subtracted by row 1, okay, or added with row 1. So if you multiply row 2 by the first element of row 2, that is minus r, so let me write it as let me write these different, this is, let's say, A, this is B for bottom, and let's say that is C, okay, or we can name it something else like U for upper diagonal, but for simplicity let us call them A, B and C. This goes from B2, B3 to B4. A goes from A1, A2, A3, A4. C goes from C1, C2 and C3, okay, or that you can give C2, C3 and C4, doesn't matter here. So row 2 divided by B2 and multiplied by A1, that will make it equal to, that will make the first element equal to A1. Now if we do this and then subtract this by row 1, your first element in row 2 will be eliminated. So you can write like this: row 2 is replaced by row 1 minus row 2 A1 by B2. And this you have to do on the right hand side as well. That is the rule when you do these kinds of matrix manipulations. So let us write our new matrix here after this manipulation. The top row will remain the same, 1 plus 2r minus r 0 0. The second row will become 0. Then the second point will be minus r, which is row 1 element, minus row 2 element, which is 1 plus 2r, multiplied with a1, which is again 1 plus 2r, so that becomes 1 plus 2r square, by b2, which is minus r. So this is the second element. Then the third element is again row 1, which is 0, as you can see, minus row 2 element, which is minus r, minus row 2 element is minus r, times a1, which is 1 plus 2r, divided by b2, which is minus r. So it becomes 1 plus 2r, and the final element is 0. And this one is 0 minus r, 1 plus 2r minus r, 0 0 minus r, 1 plus 2r. And here you still have T2, T3, T4 and T5 at the current time step. On the right hand side, the top row remains the same, T2 plus R, T1 at n minus 1. The second row is row 1 minus row 2 times A1 by B2. Row 1 is T2 plus RT1, minus row 2 which was T3 into A1 which was 1 plus 2R by B2 which was minus R. So this gets modified. Then you have T3, T4. Now after this matrix manipulation, you had to change just two things here, two rows basically. And in those two rows, first one was a tridiagonal matrix. So you had to change only two elements here and one element here. So three calculations were needed for this. Then again you do the same thing by taking these two rows, okay, the second and the third rows. Then by this operation, what will happen is you will be able to eliminate this one here. Then these will get modified, the other two elements, and this will get eliminated. Similarly, you do the same thing again with this row and this row, the last two rows. So like this you can see we are coming down, okay, from top to bottom, eliminating the first element, that is the lower diagonal. And when you go to the last and the second last rows and apply this operation, do this manipulation, you will be able to eliminate this one also. And this one will change to some other value. Now let's say the modified values are A primes, A prime 1, A prime 2 and so on. This will become A prime 4, the last element. And let's say at the top these are C2 prime, C3 prime up to C4 prime, which is this one, and this is C3 prime. And on the right hand side, let's call them D. So you get D1 prime, D2 prime, D4 prime. Let's say these were D1, D2, D3, D4. So you modified these values by Gauss elimination. Now it becomes very simple. You take the last row, multiply it with this one, you do the matrix multiplication. What do you get from here is A4 prime times, because all of these are zeros, you can see. So T2, T3, T4 don't appear in this equation. It is A4 prime times T5, which is equal to the last row on the right hand side, that is D4 prime. And from here it is very easy to see T5 is directly equal to D4 prime by A4 prime. You got T5. Now go to the second row, multiply it with that column vector t2, t3, t4, t5 at nth time step, you get a3 prime times t4 plus c4 prime t5. This is equal to d3 prime. Sorry, there's some mistake here. Okay, but doesn't matter because we are writing in terms of d4 prime, d primes basically. So this is d3 prime here on the right hand side. Now you have already calculated t5, so you know what that is. This is known. So now you get t4, formula for that. So that is d3 prime minus c4 prime. From here you get d4 prime by a4 prime. Okay, and then whole thing divided by a3 prime. Similarly, then you multiply the next row, the row above that, with the column vector there. You get a2 prime times t3 plus c3 prime times t4 equal to d2 prime. And then because t4 is known, you get t3. So now we are going from bottom to top. First we went from top to bottom. Now we are going from bottom to top. So these are two steps involved here. The first one was the elimination or Gauss elimination. Top to bottom. And then bottom to top, that is known as back substitution. So these two are involved in this TDMA or Thomas algorithm. This is how you can calculate the solution without finding the inverse of a matrix, and in a single step, or you can call it two steps. Okay, this is a very quick method of doing it. Computationally, it doesn't take much time. It is very fast. You can compare it to the explicit method. In explicit method, you have to do some calculations on the right hand side for each grid point. So this can be considered to be those kinds of calculations for every grid point. So here twice as much calculations are required. Okay. But what if the system is two-dimensional? What changes will you see here? If it is two-dimensional, you can see that there will be more terms. It will not just be ti plus 1, minus 1 and I. You will have I, j plus 1, I minus 1, j, I plus 1, j, ij minus 1 and ij, right? You will have all these from both the central differences for dou 2t by dou x square as well as dou 2t by dou y square. So you'll have all these tij plus 1, I minus 1j, I plus 1j, ij minus 1, ij. So instead of just these three terms, I minus 1, I plus 1, you will have these five terms. So instead of 3 unknowns, you will have 5 unknowns. So if you want to write them in a single vector, you will have to write like this: T 22, 23, 24, 25, then you have 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 5, and so on. So you can see this big array at nth time step for 2 dimensions. And then the matrix that multiplies here, what will be the how many elements will it have, how many diagonals will it have? You can imagine, instead of 3 diagonals that we saw here, now you will have 5 diagonals. You can check that, you can write the whole equation and check that. But this tri-diagonal matrix algorithm works only with 3 diagonals. If you want, you can extend this Gauss elimination to eliminate more number of times the lower diagonal, so that after eliminating them, you will be left with only one uh, diagonal element, one element in the last row, so that again you can do the back substitution and find out all the temperatures. But doing this Gauss elimination multiple times again increases the computational time. It is not very uh, cost effective or time efficient. So it is better to use other methods, which we'll discuss. That we'll discuss in the next class. So we'll stop here. Thank you.